Breaking the internet, Song Kang's post-discharge marriage announcement sparks wild reactions. What's the first thing Song Kang did after completing his long-awaited military service? Not a fan meeting. Not a comeback teaser. But a marriage announcement, and to everyone's shock, his bride is a 31-year-old actress whose name the industry knows all too well. Within minutes, social media exploded into chaos, disbelief, heartbreak, celebration, and speculation all at once. Was it love kept secret? Or a story written long before the cameras ever rolled? Let's uncover the truth behind Song Kang's stunning revelation, right here with Red Carpet Revealed. It started with a single post, plain white background, black serif text, no photo, no signature flourish. Just words that would detonate across every screen in the country within seconds. Actor Han Jun will soon marry a fellow actress he has known for many years. The timestamp read 9 o'clock a.m. KST, but by 9:02, the internet had already caught fire. Han Jun, the beloved face of dramas that once painted love as slow and sincere, had just stepped out of 2 years of military service. Fans were waiting for a comeback trailer, a magazine cover, perhaps a live stream to mark his return. What they got instead was a wedding announcement, clean, sudden, absolute. There were no photos. No fiancé named. No explanation. Just confirmation. Of details was its own kind of explosion. Within minutes, Han Jun marriage trended at #1 across all major platforms. Underneath it came hashtags like Heartbreak Morning, June Bride Mystery, and, more ominously, Goodbye My First Love. The agency's website crashed twice before noon. Fan cafes overflowed with disbelief. One user wrote, "Please tell me this is his movie promotion." I replied, "It's real. I work in media, everyone's panicking." And then, as always, came the guessing game. The theories began the way all modern mysteries do, through pixels, pauses, and screenshots. People dug into his old Instagram posts, comparing backgrounds, coffee cups, reflections in windows. One frame from 3 years ago, Han Jun laughing during a behind-the-scenes clip, was suddenly evidence. Someone slowed the footage and claimed that a woman's reflection could be seen in his sunglasses. Another zoomed in on the corner of a mirror and decided they saw a female silhouette. Every fan became a detective. Every photo became a clue. By lunchtime, online boards had narrowed the potential bride down to 3 actresses who had worked with him before enlistment. But one name kept resurfacing, Min Seo, a 31-year-old actress known for her quiet, steady performances. She was calm where others sparkled, gentle where others sought attention. Years ago, she and Han Jun had starred together in Beneath a Silver Sky, a slow-burning romantic drama that had turned them into household names. Their chemistry had been so natural that even critics whispered about it. At the time, both denied dating. Now, fans were revisiting old interviews. Every glance, every nervous laugh. The internet does not forget. It just waits for context. By mid-afternoon, the story had gone global. National outlets ran headlines like "From Duty to I Do, actor Han Jun's surprise marriage news stuns Asia." Reporters scrambled for comments. The agency declined interviews, issuing only one sentence, "Please respect the couple's privacy." But privacy is a myth in a world that refreshes itself every second. When evening came, journalists crowded outside the agency's glass building in Gangnam, microphones ready. Rain had started to fall, soft, sticky, relentless. Inside, a single light glowed behind frosted windows. No one came out. At 8:37 p.m., a van pulled up quietly. Cameras flashed like lightning. A man stepped out, tall, lean, in a gray suit with a black umbrella. Han Jun didn't speak. He just bowed. 3 times. Before disappearing inside. That 30-second footage played on repeat all night. Was that humility or guilt? Was it apology or gratitude? Everyone had their own version of truth. At midnight, Han Jun's fan community fractured. Sent congratulations, messages filled with heart emojis and bittersweet farewells. The other half drowned the threads in heartbreak and betrayal. "Why didn't he trust us?" one post read. "We waited for him. We protected him, and he hid this." In Seoul, a cafe that once displayed his posters quietly took them down. In another part of the city, a small group of fans lit candles by the river, playing his old drama theme song. Some cried, some smiled. Love and grief, it seemed, were now the same language. 2 days later, the agency announced a press conference. The world held its breath. It was scheduled for Friday, 10 a.m. at the Miri Convention Hall. By dawn, journalists had already filled every seat. The air smelled of coffee, tension, and freshly printed statements. When Han Jun walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. He didn't bring his bride. He didn't bring a smile. Only composure, the kind that trembles at the edges. "I know this feels sudden," he began. His voice was low, calm, almost fragile. "During my service, I had a lot of time to think about who I am, as an actor, a son, a man. And in that time, I realized that love is not about timing. About courage." A murmur rippled through the audience. He continued, "The woman I'm marrying is someone who stood by me through the quiet years. Not the shining ones. We kept it private because we wanted something real in a world that records everything." Then he bowed again, one deep motion that seemed to carry both apology and peace. When he raised his head, flashes erupted like fireworks. Reporters shouted questions, but he answered none. He simply said, "I hope you'll allow us to be happy in our own small way." And with that, he left. The clip aired across every network by noon. Commentators praised his honesty. Marked it as PR theater. A former entertainment executive commented on air, "It's rare, almost reckless, for an actor at his level to risk fan loyalty for love." But reckless or not, Han Jun had done what few dared. He had chosen life over image. By evening, the conversation had split into two worlds. In one, there was anger, fans burning memorabilia, declaring the end of their loyalty. In the other, there was awe, quiet admiration for a man who had loved privately in a culture that feeds on exposure. Even Min Seo, though still unnamed, became a mystery the public couldn't resist solving. Someone found a photo of her leaving an art gallery 2 nights earlier, smiling faintly under a mask. Others noticed she wore the same watch Han Jun had once been gifted by fans. Suddenly the internet was convinced, it's her. The next morning, her agency confirmed it. Yes, Min Seo is the person Han Jun intends to marry. The ceremony will be private. And just like that, the mystery ended, and the real chaos began. Comments flooded in. "She's too old for him." Finally, someone mature. "Was she waiting all this time? I thought he'd marry a fan." The digital noise swelled until it became a roar. In a quiet apartment overlooking the Han River, Min Seo sat by her window, scrolling through the headlines. For a long time she didn't cry. She just stared, as if trying to memorize every word that had turned her life into spectacle. Her phone buzzed, a message from Han Jun. "Don't read them. They'll calm down. We'll be okay." She smiled faintly and typed back, "Not worried. Just amazed at how loud love can be when it's not even speaking." The next day, rumors surfaced that their relationship had begun years before Han Jun's enlistment. That she had visited his base secretly. That they'd been living together. None were proven. But none needed to be. In the internet's court, speculation was already evidence. Even endorsements began to react. A major fashion brand delayed releasing his campaign photos, citing scheduling adjustments. Meanwhile, a local jewelry brand offered both of them a contract for real love ambassadors. The irony didn't go unnoticed. Others tried to chase them down, but the couple vanished from public sight. Their phones went silent. The only sign of life came through Han Jun's older brother, who posted a single line on his private account. "This is louder than noise." The line went viral. Weeks passed, and the chaos slowly mutated into reflection. Editorials began to appear, "The cost of honesty in celebrity culture." When fans demand ownership of love, commentators debated whether Han Jun's timing was brave or foolish. "Maybe he could have waited," one wrote. "Maybe he didn't want to lie anymore," another replied. Meanwhile, Min Seo's old interviews resurfaced, one from years earlier. When a reporter asked what kind of love she admired most, she had smiled and said, "The kind that doesn't need to explain itself." Now the internet replayed that clip endlessly, calling it the prophecy interview. On the 30th day after the announcement, the agency released one final update. The wedding will take place privately next month with family and close friends. The location will not be disclosed. And that was it. The media still tried to find the venue, of course. Helicopters circled resorts, paparazzi followed anyone remotely resembling the couple. But as the date approached, Something strange happened. Fans, even the angry ones, started asking journalists to stop. Let them have this day. One fan post read, "We already took everything else." Tone online shifted from accusation to acceptance. From heartbreak to strange pride. Somewhere between fury and forgiveness. People realized they were witnessing something rare, a celebrity who refused to perform his humanity. Morning of the wedding. The sky over Seoul was overcast but kind. The streets were calm. News anchors speculated. Fans shared throwback clips. But no one knew where the ceremony was taking place. At exactly 11:11 a.m., the first image appeared, not from paparazzi. From Hanjun himself. A single photo on his social media, his hand holding another. Wearing simple silver rings. No caption. No tag. Just that. Within 20 minutes, the photo had 7 million likes. For once, the comments were quiet, as if even the internet understood the sanctity of the moment. Later that evening, fans spotted them leaving a small seaside chapel 2 hours from Seoul. In a linen suit. She in a soft ivory dress. No photographers. No crowd, only sea wind and music carried through open doors. The moment lasted seconds before the car doors closed. Those seconds. The world saw something it rarely sees anymore, love without performance. And as the car disappeared down the coast road, someone online wrote the perfect closing line to that first chapter. The storm began with a post. It ended with a promise. The sea kept its secrets. For days after the ceremony, no one knew where Hanjun and Min Seo had gone. Reporters combed hotels along the coast. Every receptionist shook their head. The newlyweds had slipped beneath the radar like a dream fading at sunrise. When the world finally heard from them again, it wasn't through a glossy magazine or an agency statement. It came from Hanjun's own words, written in quiet lowercase on his fan cafe. "Thank you for letting us breathe." Just 4 words, yet they carried the weight of everything unsaid. The comment section filled instantly, tears, hearts, apologies, blessings. The same fans who once cried betrayal now typed congratulations in trembling lines. A world where outrage never sleeps. Forgiveness was suddenly trending. Back in Seoul, the entertainment desks faced an unfamiliar problem: silence. Without new details to chase. Works pivoted to retrospectives. One nightly show replayed his dramas, narrating his journey from national sweetheart to husband. Another invited psychologists to analyze why the marriage had felt so personal to fans. Dr. Eunha, a cultural sociologist. Something that lingered. Fans don't just love the celebrity, they love who they were when they first met him. His marriage forces them to see time has passed for everyone. It was the first time the frenzy started to feel like collective nostalgia. Meanwhile, Hanjun and Min Seo had retreated to a rented villa deep in the southern countryside, where wildflowers grew through stone fences and self-service bars came and went like clouds. There, mornings belonged to silence and tea. Learn to cook, she painted. When villagers finally recognized him, they pretended not to. Respect was the unspoken rule. "We see you," an old shopkeeper told them once. "But we also see that you need peace." For the first time in years. It didn't feel like a luxury, it felt like oxygen. 3 weeks after the wedding, Hanjun's agency announced his return project, a slow, actor-driven film titled After the Rain. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Critics expected backlash. Instead, the announcement was met with curiosity. Perhaps people wanted to understand him again. Perhaps they were simply ready to move on. Tickets for the preview sold out in minutes. During filming, a reporter who visited the set described the actor as quiet, grounded, more human than before. Gone was the polished smile, in its place was something softer, weightier. When asked if marriage had changed his art, Hanjun smiled faintly. "It taught me that love isn't performance. It's presence." That line would later headline 1,000 articles. Min Seo, too, began her quiet return. A fashion magazine asked for an interview. First since the announcement. The cover showed her in minimal makeup, sitting by a window washed in morning light. "Were you afraid?" the interviewer asked. "Every day," she replied. "But not of the world, of losing who we were trying to protect." Her honesty resonated. Readers flooded the comments with gratitude. One wrote, "She didn't defend herself. She just told the truth." By evening, the feature had been shared nearly 1 million times. Behind the scenes, a different transformation unfolded. The entertainment industry, often quick to hide relationships, began re-evaluating its silence. Where actors spoke publicly about dating. Agencies drafted new privacy guidelines. A quiet revolution was underway. Inspired by one couple's choice to be human first and idol second. Producers noticed. Advertisers adapted. The concept of the untouchable star began to crumble. Veteran journalists summarized it best. They broke the internet. Yes, but maybe they also fixed something in it. Months passed. Seasons changed. That once consumed headlines turned into a line in history. But for those inside the story, the echoes remained. Han-joon often wrote letters to himself, a habit from his military days. One entry read, "The world will always want stories faster than we can live them. The trick is to live anyway." Min-seo kept that note pinned to their kitchen board. Their first public appearance as a married couple came almost a year later at an awards ceremony. Cameras buzzed. Reporters leaned forward, but what people remembered wasn't glamour. It was the simplicity, the way he reached for her hand as they walked the red carpet. Fingers brushing just once. To quiet the crowd. Inside the hall, the host joked. "You two nearly broke every news site last year." They laughed, genuinely this time. Han-joon won Best Actor for After the Rain. On stage and said, "Thank you for letting me return as a person, not a headline." Min-seo clapped from the front row. Tears catching the light. Later that night, they left through a side door into drizzle. Photographers shouted their names. Han-joon turned, smiled, and said, "It's okay. Take one good photo. Just one." The flash illuminated them for a heartbeat, two figures under one umbrella. That image became the cover of every magazine the next day. Captioned simply, "Peace." In the months that followed, the public narrative shifted from scandal to symbol. Lectures analyzed how fandoms evolve. Psychologists cited the Han-joon effect when discussing parasocial empathy. Even fan clubs that once fragmented began uniting for charity drives in the couple's name. Outrage had turned into understanding. 2 years later, Han-joon wrote a memoir, not about fame, but about quiet. In its final chapter he reflected. "Internet gave me everything and took it back twice." Remained was her voice and the knowledge that real stories don't need trending tags. The book climbed charts not for gossip, but for grace. On their 3rd anniversary, the couple returned to that same seaside chapel where they had married. The caretaker, an elderly woman, greeted them with flowers. "You again," she smiled. "Still hiding. Still living," Min-seo said. They walked along the beach in silence. The tide whispered against the rocks, same as that day. Han-joon picked up a shell, placed it in her palm, and said, "For proof." "Proof of what?" she asked. "That the ocean remembers." Meanwhile, the world outside continued to spin. For news stories. A rookie actor's scandal took over headlines. Star's dating rumor went viral. But somewhere, beneath the noise, Han-joon's name remained different, a synonym for sincerity. Students studying media ethics now discussed his case when learning about privacy versus publicity. Professors used it to show that vulnerability could coexist with fame. The industry had not changed overnight. The door had been left open. On the 5th anniversary of his discharge, the day that had started everything, Han-joon appeared on a televised interview. The host asked, "If you could speak to yourself on that day, what would you say?" He paused, smiled softly, and replied, "I'd tell him the internet won't understand you today, but someday it might thank you." The studio fell silent for a beat before applause rose like a tide. That night, he and Min-seo sat on their rooftop. City lights stretching beneath them. The same skyline that once seemed like judgment now looked like forgiveness. "I used to think love was private," he said. "It still is," she answered. "But sometimes privacy is big enough for the world to see." He laughed quietly. "Poet." She corrected, stealing his line from an old interview. They clinked their tea mugs, watching the moon glide through smog. Somewhere below, fans still posted tributes, memes, jokes. But the noise felt smaller now, almost kind. For once, the internet was tired, and love remained awake. In the end, there were no villains. Only people trying to understand where admiration ends and ownership begins. Han-joon and Min-seo's story reminded a restless world that behind every trending topic lies a beating heart. Their marriage wasn't a rebellion, it was a reminder that fame and humanity can, for a fleeting moment, The same room. As one commentator wrote later, they didn't just break the internet. They taught it how to breathe. And somewhere, on a quiet night when the notifications finally slept, two people looked at each other, not as actor and actress, not as headlines reborn, but simply as husband and wife. The storm had passed. The story remained. And the world, for a heartbeat, felt a little more human. Every story begins with noise, headlines, speculation. 1,000 voices speaking at once. But when the echoes fade, what's left are the quiet truths that outlive the chaos. To every reader who stayed until this final line, thank you. Thank you for reading not to judge, but to understand. Thank you for choosing empathy over speed, reflection over rumor. Who still believe that stories can heal, that love can remain gentle even under the brightest lights, this one is for you. The watchers, and the ones who still think sincerity matters, keep listening for the truth beneath the noise. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do, in journalism, in art, in love, is simply to stay until the silence speaks. Thank you for remembering that behind every headline, there is a heartbeat. Thank you for remembering them. And thank you for remembering the light.